Good evening. Welcome to this month's Town Administrators Report. I'm David Watts Jr., and with me is our Town Administrator, Steve Maio. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, David. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Excellent.
We're pretty much solidly into fall now.
Absolutely. Trees are a little late this year, but they seem to have popped the last week. So now we'll have to rake them.
And start thinking about what the winter will be like.
Exactly.
This month, we're going to talk about the upcoming regular town meeting, which is Saturday, November 18th, beginning at 8 a.m. I'm sure the moderator is going to be thrilled with that.
I'm not so sure that that's registered with them yet. But
We're at the Veterans Memorial Auditorium at the Galvin Middle School, and all voters are welcome.
it's really nice again to get back inside at the Galvin Auditorium. Great acoustics, great technical ability. Much more comfortable chairs.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. I mean, during COVID, we had to spread people out, and the field house was a better spot for it. Was not as comfortable or as nice, but much better to be back in there.
Much less comfortable outside.
Yeah, and it's much better for people who are attending that maybe have a problem hearing, because the acoustics are so much better in there. And we want to make sure everybody can hear and see what's going on. So,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the warrant has been closed.
warrant is closed. Yeah, the warrant gets opened up. I think it opened up sometime in early September. And where we have on our charter and under our form of government, there are many ways to put an article on town meeting, and you don't have to be a board member. You don't have to be anything like that. But so I think it's 10 citizens can sign and put an article at a regular town meeting. Special takes a little bit more, but at a regular, it takes 10. And we did not have any citizen petitions this year, but we do have a number of items to discuss to finish the business of the town.
Right. But that's unusual, not having even one.
Yeah, and it was open for a long period of time, and but that's okay.
So we have 7 articles facing us. The first one is to hear and accept a report for fiscal year 2023, which ended June 30th.
Yes.
The budget, and that will be the final review of that budget year.
Correct. We've, the last fiscal year closed on June 30th. I mean, all the invoices have been in, everything's been paid. Any money that was unexpended by departments either goes back to the town, and it's kind of put back in our bank, so to speak, back to our bank account. And there are certain items that maybe did not get completed within the calendar of that time by June 30th. For instance, it could be a road that's being paved.
Right.
And because of weather or curbing didn't come in, although we had planned to do that road and put money in to do that road, it hadn't been done. So that's what we call encumbered. So that money can't be used for anything else, has to be used for that purpose, and is then just carried over or forwarded to be utilized in the next year, although it's part of the previous year's budget. A little bit convoluted, and you got to wrap your mind around it. So I always say is that I give my very pithy report of the fiscal year before. A lot of it is very dry, and it really is a series of columns. This is the money that was appropriated. This is the money that was spent, and this is the money that was returned to the town. And if there's a lot of money, it warrants an explanation. If it's like a little bit, it was, we spent less money on copy paper. No one needs to talk about that. But there are always a few interesting ones in there, and I'm kind of going through and putting my report together right now.
Okay. Do we have a preview of some of the
I can probably
highlights?
give you a few highlights here. Let me just pull that up here and see what we have, because we haven't done the final touches on this yet. It really just got closed out, but it's always better to have money that we're returning to the town than not. Let's say in the IT department, we're holding, we're encumbering $78,000 worth of some technical stuff that was done. That's gonna be done next fiscal year, or this fiscal year, probably already done by now, but it just didn't get done by June 30th. Maybe there's some money for an audit that didn't get completed. A big item that's on its own is snow and ice removal. So we budget $850,000 a year for the removal of snow and ice. And this last year, wasn't too bad. As everybody recalls, we didn't have a lot of snow and ice, to remove, although we did have some. And we are returning, so that money doesn't go nowhere, it goes back to the town. And let's see exactly what that amount was. I'm just working on this report today. So snow and ice, we encumbered, we used 702,000 of 850. So 148, roughly 147, is going to be returned to the town, which is great. So that goes back into our free cash and helps us, goes back into our bank account. For many, many years, snow and ice actually went the other way. We used to budget 300,000 for snow and ice, and that just didn't.
And less.
And less.
Yeah.
That didn't really make any sense. So we kind of increased that to become sense. But I always hope for a non-snowy winter. I'm sorry for those of you that love snow. I do agree a dusting on Christmas Eve is nice.
Yep.
Other than that, let's keep it all up in the ski country.
Yep.
Or let them make their own. Because it does it does cost a lot of money, and it's necessary. We can't just let it melt.
Right. And actually, while we're talking about snow and ice, I noticed that a number of communities are actively advertising for snowplow drivers this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
Where does Wakefield sit right now on that?
I think right now we said, okay, we are also actively advertising. And I will say that a lot of the snow plow drivers that plowed snow for Wakefield for years and years and years are actually getting on a little bit. So maybe they're not as interested now in continuing the snow plow, because think about it, it's not, it's a job that is going to come up at a moment's notice.
Right.
You really can't plan, okay, I'm going to work every Tuesday and Thursday. Well, if the snow doesn't come, you're not working those days. It is work that has to be done usually at night or early in the morning, and you've got to get in, get it out, and it is a little bit dangerous. I mean, it's a dangerous job as well, and it's a thankless job, because no matter what you do, and we all hate it when we shovel our driveway out and the snowplow comes by and buries us back in. No one's
Usually
happy.
within 30 seconds of finishing.
Exactly. So that's but we are advertising. So if anybody's out there that has the equipment, there's a good way to pick up a few dollars, and we do appreciate all the hard work you do. But there are some of our people that have been doing it for years that maybe I'm hearing are gonna not so interested anymore in doing it, and that's fine.
Yeah. It just seems some of the towns are having, the way they're advertising,
Yeah.
extreme problems getting
Right.
any
Yeah.
snowplow drivers.
Yeah, and we're not out of that woods either, to tell you the truth.
Article 2 is to authorize the Board of Assessors to use free cash in computing the fiscal year 2024, which we're in the middle of,
Right.
tax rate ending June 30th, 2024. Does this cover the fiscal year, or does this cover just the remaining part of the fiscal year?
Well, it really covers the entire fiscal year,
Okay.
because we can't set a tax rate and send out tax bills, which I'm sure people would not be too upset about if they didn't come out. But we can't set out the new tax bill rates until we balance the town. So it's really kind of interesting the way that we actually balance the town budget. It's almost backwards, okay? We set the town budget in April or May, beginning of April or May. We don't know what the state aid is going to be
Right,
definitively,
right,
often till after the town meeting is done. And in this year, we didn't know till the end of almost July, because the state legislature hadn't officially voted on that. Although we had a good idea what it was going to be. We also don't know what the new growth is going to be for new construction.
right.
All that has to be compiled by our assessing department and sent into the Department of Revenue to be certified. That's happened. And so we take last year's tax levy, what we can add to it, what we have for new growth, what we're getting for state aid, and we do all those mathematical equations. And because we are very conservative in, in projecting what we are gonna receive from things like meals tax, hotel tax, building permit fees, we then dip in a little bit to our free cash to use that to balance the budget, okay? This year, it is gonna be around 1.25, 1.5 million. And it may be this year that we're not gonna go the full 2.5% on increasing taxes from the year before, but that'll be all flushed out between then and town meeting. But we need that money to balance the budget, because we have to then go back to the Department of Revenue and say, okay, here's our expenditures, here's our revenues, and everything balances out. And now we need to send up tax bills. And, usually tax bills are paid 4 times a year, but the ones that are due in August and November 1st are estimates based on last year's bill. So when we all fix, and this is everybody, this isn't just Wakefield, it's kind of a backward system for the entire state.
Right.
And then your February 1st tax bill and your May 1st tax bill is where everything are actual, and they get smoothed over and balanced out.
Well, I'm glad you interjected that, because my next question and point was going to be on the fact that we're in the second tax quarter for the fiscal year.
Yeah, yet we haven't gone through this exercise to balance the budget.
Right.
And all this has to be certified by the Department of Revenue, Mass Department of Revenue, to make sure that we're doing it correctly and that we balance.
So we could even be into the third quarter.
Yeah,
of the
but no,
fiscal year before.
we'll know what we need to do. We already have a lot of it. We already have everything certified in front of it, so we're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Article 3, actually 3, 4,
And 5.
and 5
Right.
are acceptance of negotiated contracts and funding
Of them.
those.
Right. So, Article 3 is for our firefighters,
Yeah,
our firefighters union, and that's the entire firefighter force, with the exception of the chief and the deputy chief. Article 4 and 5 are the police unions. Article 4 being the rank and file, and Article 5 being the superior officers. So,
including the chief?
no, the chief and the deputy chief, again, are not union members
Okay,
on both departments.
okay.
So unfortunately, the current contract that these are under, these 3 unions are under, expired June 30th, 2023. We did not have that done for town meeting, although you may recall, all those were on the town meeting warrant in case we did get it done.
Yes.
And then we could vote on it. If we don't
Yes.
have it on the warrant, and, if I didn't have it on the warrant today, when the warrant closed, but we did it between, September, between end of October and November, other than opening and reposting the warrant, which we would run out of time statutorily in most instances, we couldn't even talk about these. So all 3 are on as placeholders at this point in time. I'm very hopeful that we're close on all 3 contracts.
Okay,
Very hopeful that all 3 of them will be up for the town to vote on. And it is important to note that on the municipal side, I've gone in front of town meeting a number of times for contracts over the last 15 years. And we tell you exactly what, is happening with that contract. It includes an increase for this. It includes other items in the contract, other regarding working conditions that the union and management has agreed to. They're all agreed by, in this case, by the town council. And then it actually needs to go to town meeting to be funded. So open town meeting, purest form of government. When you vote for
Absolutely.
the entire budget, you're also going to vote for the contracts. And you vote for that in year 1 of the contract, and then it just gets added to the budget in the next years, and it's voted that way.
right.
So,
But where the next town meeting will be annual town meeting next May, what happens to these contracts if they're accepted as far as the funding goes? Does it hold off now until the annual town
No,
meeting?
the funding, it'll be funded on November 18th,
Okay,
unless goes through the whole, reconsideration provision. Let's say that doesn't happen. I doubt it would.
Yeah.
For contracts like this. And And then the actual, employees are funded, within a couple of weeks after that for them, because that's gonna go all the way back to July 1.
So the thinking
that
is
day.
this will all be ready for,
Yes, the thinking is this
18th.
will all be ready for the 18th. If not, and that can happen, in any case, then it would, default back to the April or May, whatever the date is, in, beginning of 24.
Yeah.
And then it would be paid back and then, but I gotta say that it happens occasionally, that we do have this retro, payment. I'm not a real fan of it. I don't really think, I think all of us want it settled and done. Sometimes, we're in the, we're trying to negotiate it and it just doesn't have the time and we're not close enough to get there, so. But, I all good and, positive, meetings with each other. There's a lot of respect on both sides of the table,
Right.
and we certainly appreciate everything that our first responders do. And I think I know they appreciate the support of the citizens of Wakefield and of management and the town council. So I'm pretty hopeful that those are gonna get done, and then probably in the spring, there'll be another union that comes up, so we'll handle that, yeah.
It's inevitable that we see that for annual town meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I guess there are a couple out there that are in the offing. Article 6, accept general laws, chapter 59, paragraph 5C, 1/2.
Yeah.
Provides for an additional real estate exemption for taxpayers granted personal exemptions on their domiciles under general laws, chapter 59, paragraph 5, including certain blind persons, veterans, surviving spouses, and seniors.
Yeah, this is really, probably the most heartwarming, article we're gonna have at town meeting. Town of Wakefield has been fabulous about trying to lessen the tax burden on, sectors of our citizenry that probably need a little bit more help. Okay, for the, twice the town has voted to match the circuit breaker, which is on their state income tax, off of their real estate tax if they have own homes in Wakefield. And that extra money has been, again, that has been borne by the rest of the tax base. Decided to take that on, for our valued seniors, and that's been wonderful, and, probably 240 families take advantage of it a year.
Right.
Really good, helping people out. And it's not zero, it's $2,400 a year. So it's a nice, it really is helping when you think where the
Right.
tax bills are today.
Right.
There are a number of, exemptions that are already on the books. And frankly, the state rates have not caught up with inflation in time. For instance, and we have to do all the percentages the same, the way the statute works. So right now, for a surviving spouse, and you have to make certain conditions with the state, you get an exemption off your taxes of $175 a year. I mean, it's great, right? But that's not an awful lot of money, if you think about it. So we're proposing in each of these cases to double this amount. So surviving spouse would go from 175 to 350. I think that's a little bit better. A senior exemption would go from 1,000 to 2,000. A disabled veteran, which they get 400 now off their real estate taxes, would move to 800. A paraplegic veteran would go from 1,500 to 3,000. Okay, 100% disabled veteran would go from 1,000 to 2,000. And a blind exemption, people that are blind, would go from $500 to $1,000. We would cover this all within our budget here, so no one who is not taking advantage of these, advantage is a bad word, who's not, using these for
Right.
their reasons, would have to pay anything, wouldn't bore anything extra. This is what we decided, town council decided, Victor Santinello, our assessor, put this together. We want to help our valued people that maybe need a little bit of help right now.
Right.
Because we understand taxes are going up, particularly with the fact, with the new high school being built,
Right.
and that's being built with additional taxation, which the town of overwhelmingly supported. This is really going to help a lot of people in that regard. So I always say these are the most heartwarming, the most, whenever we can really help someone who needs it, we really all feel very good about that.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
I expect, this to be nothing but sweetness and light at town meeting, as they have with everything else, because it's a good thing.
It's great allowing people to stay in their homes who otherwise would have to
Exactly.
move out of town,
Exactly.
and a lot of whom have probably lived here for many years.
Yeah, many years,
You know,
and the taxes
this
have
is-
gone up around them, and they probably don't have children anymore in the school system.
Yeah.
So I think in some cases, they don't feel they're getting direct advantage of some of what we offer. But these really make me feel great. The current way that the state is being run, the increases that we're doing, the state is gonna pick up half because they're picking up the current rates right now. I expect over the years, the state will move their numbers up.
Yeah.
So we'll get a little bit more reimbursement, but we can't guarantee that. That's down the road. It was the right thing to do, is the right thing to do. So we're looking really forward to that. I know that our assessor is always looking to help out people in this regard.
Now, generally, the first 6 articles are fairly simple, fairly
Yep.
straightforward.
Yep.
Not a lot of debate to be expected. But Article 7, there's always one.
There's always one, yes.
Article 7 is, that one I think is going to be the lengthy one that's going to take voters a bit of effort to get their head around.
Right, right. So what Article 7 is about Wakefield adopting and really moving forward with being much more energy efficient and really looking at our carbon footprint and being, we talk about zero emission standards by a certain period of time. And it really is really moving towards where the rest of the state is going in any event. And, or will be going.
Yep.
And really where the world is going. This is really codifying the International Energy Conservation Code and, and making sure that when a house is built or when you're doing construction on an existing building, that not only are you using the most energy efficient systems that you can require, but how about wiring the attic at the same time, the roof at the same time for solar panels?
Sure.
How about making sure that all of those things are taken care of? Because when you're building the house new, right, that's the cheapest time to do it. So it really is, it's energy efficient, but it's also building efficient. So there will be, we will have an expert there. I think they're called HERS raters. Don't ask me what HERS means. But it really kind of shows you how by doing some of these things, and they may cost a bit more in the short run, but in the long run, you're so way ahead of the game
Right.
on your own property, but it's also much better for the planet and for the use of energy and reducing greenhouse gas emissions in the area. So I think that this will be a little bit harder to wrap people's minds around because it is a little bit more technical, a little
Right.
bit, probably a lot more interesting to a certain extent than, the first 6 articles are. But it is it has great long-term effects and moves the town forward. It's called the specialized energy code. I think we call it the stretchier energy code.
Yep.
We already got the stretch code a few years ago at town meeting, and this is stretchier. So,
Well, and this is the next step to some of the things that the
Right.
town has already been doing. And I refer to the energy farm
yes,
off Farm Street that will benefit from the 2 new schools being solar for the most part.
Yeah.
And any added power that is generated there will go into the energy farm to
Right.
benefit the rest of the town.
and it will be able to be stored in
Right.
case that we do have issues. It really is the wave of the future. In fact, even we're airing the show. What's today? The 18th.
Yes.
18th. This Saturday, there will be a electric vehicle car show down at Sunday, maybe Saturday or Sunday. Check the website at Bettsfield to talk about electric vehicles and things like that. So it is where, it is the future. And Wakefield getting ahead of it, not only does all of the environmental
Right.
items we want, but it also helps us get more grants. And it gives us we can get energy approval grants. We did it by becoming a green community, and helps us make upgrades to our buildings and really do some good stuff. So, yeah, so it's this one will be interesting. It'll be presented by the Environmental Sustainability Committee.
Right.
So I get to where I have to talk on the first six sessions, six articles. On this one, I hope to sit back and listen.
Yes, well, and hopefully they'll explain
Yeah,
this.
explain that. Yeah, with any bylaw, which is a bylaw change,
You know.
there's a lot of legalese, but
There is more text with this than the other
six
put
together.
together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that's
So,
the way it is.
But it definitely is a good thing, and we've been very fortunate in this town to be led by the municipal gas and light department
Right.
in some of the changes. They brought the energy farm.
Right, that's going to be. I really think when the energy farm is all built and up and running, that's going to be one of those innovation projects that I would love to see get it recognized by the Mass Municipal Association. 'Cause that really is really exciting project that's going to make a big difference. Going down the road.
Yeah.
So it really is.
Well, and it prepares the town for emergencies in ways that it hasn't been prepared in the past,
Yeah.
which is really important and very, very good. One new facet to the Saturday town meeting, and it kind of brings back memories of when I lived in Rockport and went to town meeting there. The Greenwood School PTO will be selling coffee and breakfast items in the Galvin cafeteria before and during town meeting. Beginning right now, I'm told 7:30 a.m., and all the proceeds will benefit the Wakefield Boys and Girls Club. So this is going to a good cause, and hopefully voters will take advantage of it while they're there. They will be able to see and hear what's going on in town meeting from the cafeteria, I'm told, and so that they can go and have, some refreshment, and if they need to come back for a vote, they can. But
and there is no food or drink
allowed in the hall
allowed
itself.
in the auditorium itself.
Right.
But I think this is great. I've always thought those were very not only great to raise money for a great cause, but creating that camaraderie, and maybe there'll be a little bit of kibitzing before town meeting.
Yep.
Between people, and just maybe old friends just bumping into each other,
And maybe a little bit of kibitzing after, too.
and maybe a little
Yeah,
kibitzing
yeah,
after.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, all good stuff. But yes, so please plan to come down on Saturday, November 18th. The gavel goes down at 8 a.m. to start it, and hopefully we'll probably be done by, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning.
I would say that's a pretty good estimate.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's only going to be one day, no matter what.
There's nothing here, including the last one, that should go more than one day. Really. So, but yes, please do come down. Remember that town meeting is for every voter to participate, to have their say if they want, to at least vote on the issues that guide the town for the coming period, whether it be a fiscal year or into the future. And with that, thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.